Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Rockland Metro
Doesn't
Show.
feel like evening, even though it's 5 o'clock. It
I
still
know
feels like
it's still
the
light
afternoon
outside.
is beautiful.
And it's beautiful.
Gorgeous.
You know, I really love that. You know, but I wish they'd ditch the whole daylight saving time thing.
Yeah, I think it was a mistake. But the problem is, you know, it's nice to take advantage of the extra hours by getting up a little earlier. That's what it comes down to.
It's for the farmers.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah. What is that?
That was because they were showing our executive producer was showing the back of your head,
yes,
like he is right now. See, look at the thing.
Well, that's all right.
You were showing the back of your head, and you were showing my
side.
ugly face. You know, and we didn't even get to see.
Well, I can't. I have to turn to look, and then my face. So it's one of those aspects of reality, which is confusing.
So for those people listening, I just want everybody to know that you are riding on the Metro. And it is WRFR.
Yes.
LP 93.3 on your FM radio dial.
Yes.
And also, we are live on Maine Coast TV.
Yes, there you go. So
yes, and
so there it is. It's Rockland's TV show.
And this is the Metro show, and for the next hour, we'll be talking with a guest, and our special guest today is...
We also let our guests introduce themselves because we're old and we forget people's names. So.
My name is Celia Knight, and I am the president of the Maine Lobster Festival.
No, you said that wrong, dear. It is the Lobster Festival.
Lobster.
It is the Lobster Festival here, where we are.
Well, Steve can do that because he claims nativeness, right?
Yes.
But he's not really a native. His origins are European.
Well, you're not from around here.
There were natives who
I'm from around here.
Yes, I know.
How many generations have you been here?
Oh, my gosh. 4 or 5.
4 or 5. Yeah. So what year does that... What year do you think of you can go back to?
The Cree, my original ancestors came over from England. His name was John Crie, and I believe he came over and settled on Cree Haven Island in the late 1600s.
So it was named after him.
Yes, it was Cree Haven.
Are you related to the Cree hardware, the H.H.
My
Cree?
great-grandfather owned
that. Was your
yes.
great-grandfather? Oh,
yep.
Really? Oh, I didn't.
Kelly B. Cree.
I never knew about that.
Well, there you go. Well, that's the whole idea of the show is we learn things.
And part of the stuff that I wanted to do tonight is because we're talking about the Maine Lobster Festival, which is going to be running this year for the first time in the last 2 years, right?
Yeah. That's correct.
And this is also going to be the 75th anniversary.
The Diamond Anniversary, yes.
So the Lobster Festival is endemic.
Endemic, right? Yes. And since we've already started talking about history, let's talk a little bit about the history of the Lobster Festival.
Sure.
So, because your mother was involved in that.
Well, my mother, the Lobster Festival started originally in Camden, Maine in 1947, and it was started by some members of the Camden Rotary Club as a way to... they needed to get rid of soft-shell lobsters because at the time, in the 1947, they didn't have ways to transport and ship the lobster by air or any other way. So it was all you could eat for $1 back in 1947. And they did it only 1 year in Camden, and then it moved down to Rockland in 1948.
Are you going to reinstitute that for the 75th anniversary? All you can eat for $1.
I don't think. I wish.
Think anything's $1.
I don't think anything's $1.
I don't think you can go to the dollar store and get anything for $1.
I think it's $1.27 now for each item at the dollar store.
Right. But
so
who are the original?
Oh, go ahead, Steve.
No, who are the original founders of the Lobster Festival? Do you know any of the names?
Yes, I do. Brian Hardin's father.
Fred Hardin?
Brian Hardin's dad was one of the founders. Our Senator Susan Collins, Ed Collins was one of the founders. But
Oh, okay.
Some older Rotary men were the founders.
Older Rotary men.
Yes.
Let's see now. That must have been.
I'm not familiar with the.
Like all the Rotary was always all the.
I mean, it was
guys.
only and then the first festival was a one-day event. But we did have, there was a sea goddess. The first sea goddess was Ruth Roberts in 1947.
1947. So how long did it stay in Camden?
1 year.
1 year.
1 year, 1 day.
1 year, 1 day.
Yeah.
Okay, that's sort of original sin, right? But but then.
I guess it just moved to
country.
Rockland because Rockland was labeled as the lobster capital of the world. So
I see.
I would say that was probably why the move came.
What, was Rockland called the lobster capital of the world even in 1947?
Yes, it was.
Really? How long? How far back does that go?
I wasn't. I'm guessing 1947.
And when did your mother get involved?
My mother volunteered always. My mother was born in 1933, so she was, a teenager when it came to Rockland. She volunteered in some aspect as far as she worked. I think originally just serving lobster or cleaning up as a teenager, but she pretty much did every single and became a solid volunteer in the late 1960s.
Was she president? Was she president?
My mother was never president of the festival. My mother was vice president for a number of years and a director for my entire life.
So how did you get to be the president of the Lobster Festival? What did you have to do?
I was nominated.
You just had to stand forward.
Yeah, I had to be stand forward and take the heat.
Now, wasn't your mother head of the pageant for?
My mother was never involved in the pageant. My mother was in the pageant, and I was in the pageant.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
but she was. Who did run the pageant?
Ruth Hoke ran the pageant.
Oh, that's right.
Back in she was the pageant coordinator. Wes Hoke and David Hoke's mother. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Wes Hoke ran Rockland Marine Corporation.
Right.
But Ruth Hoke ran the pageant for 20 plus years, and Kay Warren ran it, and I don't know the people back in the super early days.
And what was Mildred Merrill's
Mildred
involvement?
Merrill was she was a director forever, and it's funny because I just last week started on my personal Facebook page. I've started to do a throwback to the volunteers from festival years past, and tomorrow I'm highlighting 1998, and that was the last year that Mildred Merrill is in a lot of the pictures, and she was a director, and she was also a president of the festival. But as you probably know, she was the mayor of Rockland. I mean, she was but she did a lot of things.
She was on the council for many years. Somebody told me
she was the mayor.
Yeah. And excuse me, everyone. That noise that you're hearing outside our window
is painting going on.
Yeah, they're painting the building next door.
Next door. I mean, it's more than the building next door. It's really our parent building. Okay.
Yes.
It's our landlord's building. So just be careful what you say, Steve.
Yeah, this is really not CNN or MSNBC, but it is WRFR, which is your local radio station, and we are broadcasting the Metro show. And
it is available also online, so you can go to Channel 7 on cable and watch it on Main Coast TV, but you can also go to maincoast.tv, one word, maincoast.tv, and you can see it
anytime.
If Craig will make a recording of it and put it on there, you could see it later. And we've been talking about getting them on YouTube, because I think that would be fun to get the Metro show on YouTube.
I'd like to see it after we're done.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can also, if you have any questions for Celia,
you can call in.
Easy questions.
I can take hard questions.
Or whatever, or complaints about Steve or me, right? 593-0013.
Right. And
the light will flash right there, Celia. And,
right.
Oh, really?
Right. Could you take that little cone and put it
right
up
on there,
here,
so Steve will see it.
I'll be able to see it.
His eyesight's not that good anymore.
Calls in. We're a bunch of old men here.
Well, this is great. So it's interesting to. to learn about the history and the names of people, but also there's an evolution of the festival, not just the personalities, but because I'm remembering a time when they changed the name and it was the Maine Seafood Festival.
It's been several names, actually.
Has it? Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, it was the Camden Lobster Festival to start with. It was the Rockland Lobster Festival. It's been the Maine Seafoods Festival, and it's been... and it's been the Maine Lobster Festival since 1983. But
the Seafood Festival was a couple of years before that. Right.
It was
Why did they change it to Seafood Festival for a short time like that?
I guess because they felt like they were honoring all seafoods.
All seafood.
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Diversity.
Yes.
Right.
Make sure everybody's included.
Yes, absolutely.
And the Maine Lobster Festival has received national recognition over the years.
Oh yes,
you and I were talking a while back about
well, people come from far away.
It's really an international festival now. I liken the agricultural fairs that we have in the state of Maine. Those are more directed towards the local communities that hold them, whereas the Maine Lobster Festival, like you say, is national and international. We have visitors from all over the world. We usually have a map board that's down at the festival grounds, and we want put a pin where in the world you've come from, and there's literally pins from all corners of the globe, as far as I can see.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and we've had the Today Show was here.
The Today Show's been here. CBS This Morning has been here. I'm sure that ABC. I'm sure ABC's been here.
Yeah,
but yes, and
we've had some great entertainment here too over the years.
Have.
I just had a conversation with Chuck Kruger the other day, and we were talking about, because I had an idea that I wanted to do, and I tried to get his help with it. Because it's the 75th year of the festival, I said, Chuck, why don't you call up like the Dixie Chicks and Willie Nelson and some of these people that have been here over the years, and say, why don't you just record a little thing, do it over the phone, and say, congratulations to the Maine Lobster
Steve
Festival.
Always knows how to do it.
That's a cute idea, actually. I really like it.
I thought that would be, happy 75th.
Who will be the musicians
this year? We have a number of years ago, because there are venues like Bangor and Portland that are bringing so many big names to to the near area. We decided there are so many Maine-based bands that we wanted to focus on the Maine-based bands. This year, what I feel like is we have many great bands, but the headliner is it's a national act. It's an Elton John tribute band called Yellow Brick Road, and he actually lives in Augusta, Maine, and he's doing our show because it's the 75th year. He's doing 7 costume changes, and it is a mega big show, and it's going to be
nice.
Well, because the whole entire festival is free admission the entire 5 days, and it's going to be on the Thursday night of the festival, and I'm personally looking forward to that. He plays all over the country, in Vegas and wherever. And it's a big, huge band that comes along with him. So there's that. There's the steel drum band. I should have brought the lineup, but and Paul Benjamin helps us with the lineup. And in years past, we hadn't had a blues band. And I said, Paul, why don't we have a blues band this year? And he was like, okay, I know where to find one. So we're having, and I should have brought the list, like I said, but there's a great blues band on Saturday night, a country band on Friday night that's very good. We have a Who tribute band that's also playing.
But of course, you and I, Joe, we're over a certain age, and we don't think of these things. But the younger people, like Celia, you mention it all the time. I should be able to mention it now and then. That everybody today, my son keeps reminding me of this all the time. Well, just Google it, Dad. And you can go on the website for the Lobster Festival, and which is
MaineLobsterFestival.com, and the lineup will be right there.
It'll be right there.
Yes.
Right. So a lot of this information, if you're curious about the festival, you can go online.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the dates for the festival this
August
year.
3rd through the 7th.
Right. And it's always the first weekend.
The parade is always the first Saturday of August. That's the rule of thumb.
Right, right. And the
At
festival
10
is
a.m.
usually always...
We should do a WRFR thing in the parade. We ought to be in the loft. Don't you think we ought to be doing that?
I think you ought to.
We've done it in past years.
If we could find some younger people.
Yeah.
They don't
I
want
think
to
that's
see
true.
a bunch of old
So
guys.
that's something that people listening should
You should
know.
broadcast live from the festival.
Yes.
We should.
yes,
That would be fun.
we
It
should.
all depends on volunteers, because this radio station, and I'm very proud of it because I think it really is what makes it a creative thing. It's all volunteers. And anyone who's listening who would like to be a part, and Scott, for example, is sitting in the corner because he'd like to do a show, and he's just there sort of observing what we do. Mainly the lesson, by the way, Scott, is don't do it like this, okay?
Fair enough.
So we need volunteers. Not that we're hurting, we're happy, but if we have more volunteers, especially people willing to help with administration, willing to help with technical side, we could do even more. And it's a tremendous opportunity.
I think that's why
Please join us. Yes.
the WRFR and the Lobster Festival are very similar in the fact that we both depend on volunteers.
Yes.
And you have quite a few volunteers.
It takes almost 1,300 volunteers really to make. We could use up to 1,300 volunteers and maybe even more. This year, we have never had as many volunteers signed up at this point in May. We have over 200 volunteers already signed up. Most of them sign up when they make plans for more towards June and July, and the local people sign up then. I mean, we've had an extreme number of volunteers sign up early.
Right.
Can we get an Ethernet connection in there someplace? Could we get a booth with Ethernet?
Well, Celia tells me that Paul Benjamin is stepping up to the plate.
Oh,
and
yes.
He's going to he's going to
Because
redo
if
that
we could-
whole.
The building is going to be fixed up until the city decides what the waterfront is going to do.
We have ways of doing remote, and one is a little transmitter, a little portable transmitter, and then we have there on the wall, there's the receiver, that thing just over the window, and there's an antenna up there.
Right.
But, in fact, we have some more modern gear that's about plugging into Ethernet. It's a direct internet connection, and it gives
And
us really
speaking
good
of
signal.
volunteers, I think it would be
Yeah.
important to say to those that are listening, if you're interested in volunteering for the Lobster Festival,
You can go to our website, MaineLobsterFestival.com, under volunteers. Click on the link, and there's a little application to fill out about what you might be interested in doing at the festival, because there are tons and tons of unique opportunities for volunteering, and just click it and send it, and somebody will call you.
we're talking with Celia Knight, who is the president of the Lobster Festival, and we're talking about this year's Lobster Festival, which will be August 3rd through the 7th. And why don't we just take a moment to talk about some of the things that are going to be different this year than in past years, because it's been 2 years since the festival has operated.
Yes.
But we're all coming out of the shadows here now, and we're opening things up. And so tell us a little bit about the evolvement, I guess, of the festival.
Well, one thing that was something that I wanted to do even before 2019 was to make our festival a greener festival. We chose this year, and I hope moving forward, to no longer have a carnival, as a traditional carnival as people know them to be. We wanted to have more hands-on children's playing. We have a very large children's tent with all kinds of activities inside the tent for little kids to do. We've also, Cedar Works is donated 2 industrial play sets that are very large to the festival that we will now have each year. So that will be a huge new thing. We will have a petting zoo We will have, for teenagers, we're going to actually have an arcade with pinball machines and older style like Asteroids and Pac-Man and all the older video games. We also have the traditional kids parade, codfish carry, the diaper derby, the lobster, the crate race obviously is a premier event.
Right,
which is always on Sunday.
And it's not just for kids, it's for anybody.
It's really cool. It's so fun.
Yeah, I mean, and
so
we will continue to have games of chance, the regular types like water gun games and darts, and we will of course have fair food because everybody's worried that they can't get their fried dough. You'll get fried dough. You'll get cotton candy,
Maybe
soda, lemonade.
Fried dough?
I don't think so. We're not the Common Ground Fair. We don't want to take anything away from that. It will be traditional fair food, but I mean, and there's loads of really interesting new stuff. Climbing walls and
petting zoo. Is that going to be lobsters?
That's a good idea.
Lobsters,
Well, we don't want to make anybody upset by making the lobsters race or there's.
All right, right.
You know, I was talking to Paul Benjamin. You were talking about the crate race, which is, my favorite. And I remember when the crate race first began when I was very, very young, down to Atwood's Lobster. They had it down there. And at that time, the most fun was these big old fat guys would get out there and see how far they could go, know. And most of them would make it, 2 crates?
It's hard.
I did it down there too, and I didn't make it far. It was harder to do down there.
Well, the ones that really do well are these little kids that weigh 30 pounds.
Definitely.
The
smaller
you can tell immediately if you can do, if you can run them or not. I was never.
The fact that a rat could go forever, right?
You've got to be fast.
An elephant would not make it far.
They just have good balance and they're light on their feet. They're usually between 9 and 12. And that's that.
It's fun to see them doing that. It's really the crate race is
and
really
so,
fun.
As far as the calendar. Wednesday night is the first night of the festival.
The festival starts at noon on Wednesday. King Neptune and Chloe Blake, the 2020 Maine Sea Goddess, will be coming in on a Coast Guard ship to town with the King's Court. And so the festival raises its flag at noon, and music and things are going on Wednesday. We moved the coronation time up. It starts at 4 o'clock. It's more of an afternoon event now. And after the coronation is the Maine Sea Goddess coronation. The Midcoast Music Academy, the local students in the area are going to put on a concert, and that is a really big draw. At least it's been every year. Paul Benjamin also puts that together. And so we have some fine young talents right here in the area.
And then on Thursday?
Thursday has all of the and all of the tents are open on Wednesday. Everything is open starting Wednesday at noon. Thursday, there's entertainment throughout the day. But Thursday afternoon, we'll be setting up for the big Yellow Brick Road Elton John tribute band.
So that's going to be Thursday
So that's going to be that's going to be a huge show. I also forgot to mention that we'll be having fireworks on Wednesday night at 9:30 because it's our 75th year, and Saturday night at 9:30. Okay. So 2 nights of fireworks as well.
Right. And then Friday
night is the country music and the Who tribute band. Saturday for entertainment in the evening is the blues band, and then the fireworks.
And then if there's anyone at all out there that's missed this, I think that we should once again mention
it's
that
free.
It won't cost anything to go into the festival this year.
And that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
I think a great move. So where does the money come from?
I'd like to also make one comment. I'd like to thank the Rockland City Council for waiving the park fees, which are, that was a big donation to save the Lobster Festival
I had
money.
read that they weren't going to waive the fees.
They
Did
waived
they change
the fee.
their mind? And
they tabled the vote the first time, and we had some conversations, and they did waive it.
Yeah.
Right,
We will be paying for the first responders. That will be paying all the city fees. So that's not coming. We're not asking for everything for free.
Well, I think the big thing, Celia, and I praise you for doing this, and that is that it was asked to have the financial statement.
That's correct.
In which you provided,
Mm-hmm.
and once you look at that, you can see that the Lobster Festival is not loaded with cash,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think from what I've heard via the grapevine was that there were a lot on the city council that felt, look, you're offering this. You've had 2 years when you've been closed completely. You're offering this at no charge to anybody coming in. And that looking at the financial statement, you can see that you're not Jeff
Flush
Bezos.
with cash.
So I think all of those things taken into consideration.
Well, I was always in favor of charging the Lobster Festival, but when I read that it was going to be free now, I thought it would be correct not to charge the Lobster Festival.
Well, we honestly felt that everybody, I don't care where you're from, if you're local or you're visiting for the first time or whatever, everybody has had a long couple of years of not doing everything, and we wanted to make sure that if anybody wanted to come to the festival, be it every day for 5 days or 15 minutes, you're going to go down there for free. And you're going to, hopefully you enjoy yourself.
I have a question about the carnival, because I remember it's quite a few years ago now, there was a decision that there wasn't going to be a carnival and it was going to be just kids' rides. But it seems like the kids' rides kind of grew again, so there's this kind of pressure to have a carnival. And now again you said no.
We don't really, we feel like once you see what we've got planned, I mean, there will be the bounce houses and there'll be rock climbing walls and the water balls that kids get in and roll around. I mean, you can also go, I encourage everybody that loves carnival rides to go to the Union Fair. They have switched the Union Fair to the week before the Lobster Festival. So, I know that rides are important to a lot of people, so I love the Union Fair as well. I volunteer at the Union Fair. Go to the Union Fair, enjoy the rides there, come to the Lobster Festival, and see what some of the alternatives are that we have to offer.
I can see why they made you president of the festival, Celia. You did a great job.
Well, Celia, you and I talked before the show about the Maine Festival. And the Maine Festival was run for many years, and it was down in Brunswick.
Thomas Point Beach.
Yeah, and it was something that I never went to because it was always the same weekend as the Lobster Festival. And one year, I had a friend of mine that invited me to that, and I went down. And I was just so overwhelmingly impressed with the Maine Festival because it was so what I would call non-commercial.
Oh, absolutely.
Where they had local bands and then the local brew tent, which, by the way, we didn't mention the,
that's
the brew
right.
tent and the...
We're going to have a beer garden.
Yeah, what was that called? There's a name for it.
We have it's our beer garden.
Vines, right?
We have Steins and Vines.
Steins and Vines.
And Steins and Vines is different. We could chat about those real quick. Steins and Vines is the only ticketed event at the festival. It is a beer, wine, and hard cider tasting from local breweries. We have 14 brewer, vintner people from the area already signed up, and you get a small tasting glass and you get tickets for the event, and we'll have hors d'oeuvres, and there's a jazz band that's a 2-piece jazz band that's going to play, and it is it's going to be 2 sessions of that from 4 to 7 p.m. on both Thursday and Friday evening. So you can go to the Steins and Vines, and it's already selling tickets like crazy on MaineLobsterFestival.com. But we also, Dogfish Brewing Company is sponsoring our beer garden, which is going to be located off of the main stage, sort of near the PA booth, Steve.
Oh, well,
and what they have
I want to do some more shifts.
And they have the Dogfish Brewing. They have transformed some antique trucks into. They have they have made them into tap trucks. So they have got kegs inside of the antique trucks, which are very nice trucks. And so it's a classy operation. And you'll be able to order, if you want your lobster dinner or a lobster roll, you can order. We're going to have iPads that you can place an order, kiosks around, like in the beer garden and several other places. You can order food and somebody will run it to you. Sort of like a Lobster Festival DoorDash, I guess.
Now, can you just take a moment and talk about the Navy ships? Because I've heard various reports on
We never
those.
find out about we've requested the Navy ship, and you never Angus King's office is working quite hard to get that here, and Susan Collins' office. We never find out if we're getting a Navy ship until at least June, and I mean we have our fingers crossed. I really would like one, and they know how much we want one. We had one slated for 2020 that was going to come, so.
I know it's a big draw. You know, I never
Yes, it
really
is.
understood why, because I remember going there one year, and I said, well, I want to take a tour of the Navy ship. And I get up there, and there's these two young guys in their flak jackets, you know, with automatic weapons standing there going, stop! You know, and I said, you know, this is not this warm and fuzzy feeling, you know, but, you know, with the intense security and all that stuff.
Yes, they have to have good security. I mean, after some of the terrorist attacks on ships at other places.
The other thing I heard was that they won't let you know there's a ship coming because they don't want everybody in the world to know.
Well, I mean, we announce in July if we're going to have a ship or not.
Has there ever been a year when they just didn't come?
Yes, we've had several years that they didn't come. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember a few years ago you were talking about a pirate ship coming.
Well, we are having a pirate ship again this year, and we're having much more of a pirate presence. The pirate ship
are more willing to work with you than the Navy. I mean, they're willing to promise to come.
There's plenty of pirates.
That's not
around
necessarily
Rockland.
true. We really want the U.S. Navy ship here, but the pirate ship Muskrews is going to be here with the Pirates of the Dark Rose group, and they put on they're going to do interactive. That's another thing with the children. They're going to do they're going to teach kids how to shoot off cannons. There's going to be lots of sword fighting, and they do a great job. I mean, there's a big pirate festival up in Eastport, Maine, and that is extremely popular, and they haven't also had it for 2 years either, but. And the Pirates of the Dark Rose go to that, so I feel very blessed that they're coming here with their crew. Their what do they call it? Their I don't know. Their motley crew.
The motley crew. You know, we're talking with Celia Knight here, who's the president of the Maine Lobster Festival, and which is coming up August 3rd through the 7th here at the. What do we call that? Harbor Park? Is that what we call that? I think it is Harbor Park, down in Rockland. And
Harbor Park and Bowie Park, right?
Park,
and the parking lot.
And technically Mildred Merrill Park.
Right. Park, and this is the first year that the festival has been back after a 2-year absence. And it is their 75th year. And we're trying to go over all of the things about the festival tonight with Celia, and you know, I'm sure there's going to be something we're going to miss. So if you can think of a question that you'd like to ask Celia, please give us a call at 593-0013, because somebody will always come up to me after the show and say, how come you didn't ask her about this? You know, and I'll say, well, I'm sorry, you could have called. So call us, 593-0013. And so we've talked about the various events. Nobody's calling yet, but anyway, but they're waiting for me to stop talking. So, you know, forget that. I'd like to talk about the art tent because my next door neighbor, Susan Johnson
Dick
and
Johnson,
her husband Dick are running up that, and I understand they have some new things going on this year, and I was wondering if you could let us in on some of that.
As long as it's okay with Sue. No. Yeah. Well, the main arts and crafts tent is probably what I consider to be the prettiest tent at the Maine Lobster Festival. I mean, along with the great artwork, Sue Johnson does the floral displays are amazing. The whole family is very artistic. What they're going to do this year is usually they had the art show that was along for years it was along Main Street, and you could submit original artwork to win a blue ribbon or hopefully win a blue ribbon. And then the art show was moved to the Camden National Bank. This year they're going to have a whole entire section. You submit your artwork piece, and then it will be in that show. So that's something new that they're going to have. Outside of the tent, they're going to have some demonstration areas. They're hoping to have Dick Johnson does pottery, and he is always a big draw for attendees to watch. They're hoping to have a blacksmith. We have a chainsaw carver that's going to be at the festival, and I'm really excited about her. She's coming down here from New Hampshire, and she is going to be doing demonstrations for the entire 5 days of the festival. There's going to be lots of neat things over in the art tent.
What about marine biology? Is there going to be stuff to learn about?
The marine tent has a brand new director. I did the marine tent for almost 15 years or more, and I turned over the reins this year to Amy Tinker Sawyer, and she is going to have many different new groups and displays in the marine tent. We will have the there's 2 touch tanks that have many different types of starfish, scallops, lobster, crabs, sand dollars, everything, that kids like to see and pick up that you don't normally get to just see when you go to the beach. So there'll be the touch tanks. Brooks Trap Mill will be there building lobster traps and different types of traps like crab traps. Grundon's is a brand new booth that's going to be coming to the festival. Grundon's, everybody knows all of foul weather gear. But they're going to be talking about some of the different places that their foul weather gear is worn on the ocean. They're going to have, like, when they are in Alaska or when they're wherever else they have bad weather. They need Grundon's. Project Puffin will be there. There'll be lots of different, we have nonprofits and also nautical things that people can buy that are made out of ocean things.
The parade has been a huge event for the Lobster Festival for many years. Did they start the parade right at the beginning of the Lobster Festival? They did back in, 47, did
48.
you say? 48. And so anything different for the parade this year?
We're going to have a parade as our parade. Yes, it's going to be a very big parade. There's been a lot of interest and applications coming in. I can tell you that the one of the biggest draws that always gets people excited, we have this band that comes from Baltimore, and they're very excited. It's a great, like a marching band like that you would see at a big stadium, like at a college football game. And they come to town, and you can hear them when they're way up by Crossroads when you're down by the boatyard in downtown Rockland, because they have lots of drums and dancers, and they're awesome. I know for sure that they're coming. The Maine Cabin Masters will be there. You'll have to stay tuned and see what the lineup is and be at the parade. Right. It starts at 10 a.m.
If the radio station wanted to have a float in the parade, what would we have to do?
You go to MaineLobsterFestival.com under parade and fill out the application and submit it.
So I'm trying to think of the fellow's name that ran the parade for years.
Bob Oxton.
Bob
Oxton he's still heavily involved in the parade. He drives our Lobster Festival mascot, Rocky the Lobster, in many parades around Maine, New Hampshire. He goes to NASCAR races. He's taken it to, and the Big E down in Springfield, Mass. So Rocky is very popular, and Bob is still involved, and his sister Sharon in the parade.
Yeah, a lot of questions that I have asked over the years is, will the lady from PETA or PETA or PETA, will she be coming back again? Everybody asks me that. For those who have no idea what I'm talking about, Joe, you can explain.
Well, I just remember. It's just there were people concerned about animal cruelty and animal rights.
People for the ethical treatment of animals.
Yeah. And they brought this lady in a very skimpy little costume.
Her butt was painted red with red paint, and it said,
I see.
Something burns my butt or something
Yeah.
But we also, the last one I saw, we didn't have anybody in 2019, but the last time they, outside of Brass Compass in the park there, they made a human dinner plate with a person laying on the ground with some things. But
lobster,
they haven't really caused us any trouble. We somehow always get a heads up if they're coming, and I welcome them to the festival, and it's just actually
more fun.
Yeah, it's their passionate thing, and I think that's great. I think you should be passionate about whatever you believe in. So if they like to come to the Lobster Festival, they'll be welcome.
They should have a tent with bean soup and say, "Don't eat a lobster here."
Well, they just need to once again go to mainlobsterfestival.com and fill out a vendor application.
Excellent.
We're talking with Celia Knight, who's the president of the Maine Lobster Festival.
By the way, I started to ask, where does the money come from if you're not charging admission?
So we have a lot of money that comes in through sponsorship, businesses and corporate sponsorship. We also will have donation buckets, and we bring in quite a bit of money through the donation buckets. We donate. People know that we donate to organizations that help children, that help people pay for oil. We AIO Food Pantry, the Pope Memorial Humane Society. We donate. That's what we're here for, is to put money back into the community. We have bought things, over the years for the police department, the fire departments throughout Knox County.
So the money comes from donations, sponsorships. It also comes from
souvenirs,
from the stands that when people are selling hot dogs or whatever it is that they're selling, they pay also.
Yes, the vendors.
The vendors.
The vendors. We do not charge nonprofits though.
I see.
We don't charge nonprofits that are in the. You still have to fill out a vendor application, but we don't charge nonprofits.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Well, we're talking with Celia Knight, who's the president of the Maine Lobster Festival. I keep trying to call it the Maine Seafoods Festival.
You're aging yourself.
I am, but that doesn't take much. But we've been talking about this summer's Maine Lobster Festival, which will be August 3rd through the 7th at Harbor Park down here in Rockland, and we invite everyone to participate. It's free to come in to the festival this year, but I want to just shout out to those who wish to volunteer that the festival is always looking for volunteers, and that you can volunteer by going to the website for
what sorts of things mainlobsterfestival.com. What sorts of things do volunteers do?
Volunteers, well, first of all, I'd like to start by saying everybody is a volunteer. I am a volunteer. It is like a second full-time job for most of our board members. All summer long, we give up all of our free personal time. It comes away from our families. But we also love the volunteers that even put in 1 4-hour shift. For a 4-hour shift, you get a T-shirt, you get a coupon for a discount off of a meal down at the festival. But there are volunteer opportunities in the food tent. There are serving lobster, cleaning up. There's just many different cashiers. There's volunteers that we need, obviously, at the gates, still making sure that everybody's coming in and everything's okay. There's volunteers on the stage. There's volunteers for all of the different events that are free, like the children's tent. We need to have people manning all of these things. The marine tent. One of the probably most popular jobs is to volunteer and work on the touch tanks. People really like to do that job. It's fun. I mean, you get to continually see kids come up and be like, oh, wow, can I pet the lobster? And they're scared of the lobster. Or we do keep the lobsters banded, and then like the live scallops, they spit at you. They're just spit water out. But I mean, that's probably one of my favorite jobs. I mean, but you can volunteer. We have a big seafood cooking contest. We need volunteers to pass out samples to the audience after the seafood cooking contest. I mean, there's loads of different. And there's obviously one of our most important jobs is set up and takedown of the Maine Lobster Festival. And we honestly could not do, or it would be very difficult to do that. We have inmates that help us from the Bulldog Correctional Institute in Warren, and the men that come over here to help us, there are at least 30 of them that come beforehand, and they cut the grass and they put snow fence up, and they put the tents up and do everything that we ask them to do, and they do it gratefully. They're happy to be out, and I am eternally grateful that the prison allows us to have them over, and they do a fine job. So
well, there's a lot of work to do.
There's a lot of work to do, and they are very valuable.
Period of time, and we're talking about the Maine Lobster Festival, which will run down at Harbor Park this summer, which is the first summer in the last 2 years that we've had a lobster festival. So and a lot of changes this year, so a lot of exciting changes for me anyway.
It really, really sounds great. So I am really happy to hear about the changes, about moving on from the carnival thing, about not charging, and about the festival and WRFR have something in common, which was we're all volunteers, because also there's nobody who's paid to administer the radio station. It's all volunteers. It's quite a challenge.
I'm sure
it
is.
Creates a lot of great energy. I'm sure that you see that with what you do. So it's great. I look forward to being down there at the festival this summer, and maybe we can do something, Steve. Maybe we can
do something this
radio
year.
station to do something.
I think that would be fantastic.
And I want to take this moment to mention that next week on the Metro show, our guest will be Rodney Lynch, which is he is the former economic development director in Rockland,
and almost as crazy as Steve and I.
Well, almost, yeah, and Susan Beebe.
Oh, nice.
Who and they're going to be talking about a whole variety of things, but housing in Rockland. And I just want to shout out right now, we've got a few minutes left on the show, and I had talked with Chelsea Everett, who
is on the school board. And they recently voted on the school budget, although Chelsea and a couple of others, just 2 others, voted against the approval of the school board. And that takes a lot of courage, because I've been on boards, and I know what the pressure is to kind of conform. So
and the big
meeting, to talk to them.
The big public meeting is next Tuesday, and hopefully that's Chelsea on the phone right now talking to us. Chelsea, is that you?
Hey, it is.
Oh, great. Well,
sorry, I've been listening, but I wasn't sure if I should call in. I wasn't sure how it worked. But yeah, I've been.
Well, yeah. Well, I gave you your cue, and the reason that I had asked you to just to call us is because this public meeting is next Tuesday, and we wanted to just make the public aware of the fact that they're going to be, approving this school board budget. And could you just talk a little bit about that?
Of course. So I'll repeat a little bit of what you said, but I'll backtrack just a little bit to talk about what the processes look like beforehand. So the way the school board budget works is that the school board approves the budget, and then that budget goes through 2 more approval processes before it actually becomes the budget that the school board uses. So the school board budget is the first part of that process. And then it goes to the budget meeting, and that's what's next Tuesday at 6 o'clock at the high school. And that's the big meeting that's like a town meeting, and people get up and they can add or remove items from the agenda, and then they overall approve article by article. And we can talk about what that is if you want. Article by article, they approve the budget. And then that becomes our budget. So no matter what happens later, that is the budget that the school will operate on for the next fiscal year. And then after that, there's the budget validation referendum, and that's on June 14th. And that is where the public simply confirms what happened in the budget referendum, or the budget meeting, sorry.
So you, along with two others, voted against the approval of the budget. Can you tell us why?
Yes, I had some concerns about the overall cost increase. One of the things that I've noticed over the last few years that I've been on the school board is that while our tax impact is usually around 3 to 4%, that means that the budget overall is generally up 6 to 8%. And I'm concerned about having a budget that's increasing by 6 to 8% every year. And I also had some specific concerns about this budget, about adding a new assistant principal position, and also our general staffing levels overall. I think we really do need to evaluate our staffing levels as we have retirements and attrition. I'm not someone who's going to favor layoffs, but I think that we really do need to think. We thought about right-sizing the district in terms of the buildings, and I think we need to think about what is the right class size for our various schools, for instance, and then think about how do we get there as we have retirements and sort of natural attrition. How do we get there and right-size our staff as well?
Right, and this was the thing that I remember reading in the story that was in the Free Press or the Village Soup or whatever they call it this week, in that you really weren't voting against teachers or maintaining the teachers, but it was more about the class size and the fact that as teachers retire and leave, that you don't rehire. Is that basically it?
Yes, absolutely. I know that a lot of times in the past, and actually my first year on the school board, we laid off people, and it was a choice that it was a vote I regret making. If I'd felt rushed when I did it, and if I had had the opportunity, I would have voted against layoffs again. So I really think that we can do this through attrition and retirement.
So it's great. We're looking forward to having you on the show next week, and we'll take it from there. Okay, we have to get out of here because we've got a much better show coming after ours. We
just
have to
ignore him, Chelsea. He's he's old and But anyway, I thank you for calling in because primarily my biggest concern is that this is what the school board does every year. They move the numbers around and make it so that it's only looking like a 3% increase. And so the general public will look at that and go, well, that's not that bad. I guess that's okay. So we'll just go ahead and vote for it. And then when you add the school and the county and the city and everything else all together, then, our taxes keep spiraling upward. And I'm just I wanted to, give you the opportunity to kind of make a shout out to those that might not have this meeting next Tuesday on their radar and say, look, if you're concerned about this, you need to come out. And this is going to be at the Rockland, I call it Rockland High School, but it's not called that anymore. What is it, Oceanside School?
Yes.
And what time is it going to be?
No, sorry, not in the gym, in the auditorium. It'll be at 6 o'clock.
So 6 o'clock next Tuesday night, you have an opportunity to go and have your voice heard on this school budget. So thank you for calling us in, Chelsea, and we'll be talking more about this later. Okay?
Sounds good. Have a good night, everybody.
Yep.
And I've really enjoyed hearing about the Lobster Festival.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Bye now. So we thank you for joining us this week on the Rockland Metro show, and we hope you'll join us next week at 5 o'clock when Rodney Lynch, former Economic Development Director here in Rockland.
Oh, Chelsea won't be here next week. When will she be here?
That's all right. I let her down softly. Yes.
Well, is she going to come sometime in the future?
Yes, in the future, yes.
Okay,
That's why I wanted to get her on.
I got that wrong. I'm sorry.
No, I wanted to get her on tonight because the meeting is next Tuesday.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
Good
Sorry.
for you. Okay.
All right. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week on the Rockland Metro.
Thank you, Celia.
You're very